With the coronavirus pandemic now coming to an end, it looks like people can finally fulfill that feeling of wanderlust that had to be taken away. But this doesn't mean you can go anywhere, with some locations being well off the beaten path. So let's take a look at some of these distant destinations and see why they remain not viable. Number 1, Heard Island in Australia. First up on our list is a location that might appeal to the adventure within you and comes in the form of a barren volcanic landmass by the name of Heard Island. Although the territory in question is considered by the governments of the world to be Australian, it can be found about 2/3 of the way between the island of Madagascar and Antarctica. In other words, you can throw away the thought that you'll be experiencing some delightful weather on that side. Made up of mostly mountainous land, Heard Island also has around 41 glaciers spread across it, showing just how cold you'll be if you decide to take the trip. There are also numerous forms of wildlife to keep you company while taking in the sights and digging for treasure, ranging from penguins to a vast number of marine birds. But what really makes this island so dangerous to visitors is the volcanic action it has seen over the last 2 years. Back in 2000, the University of Hawaii actually noticed a lava flow that was approximately 2 kilometers long flowing from the southwest side of Mawson's Peak. And since not much is known about the active volcano due to the inaccessibility of the island preventing study, let's just say that it could blow at any moment. There's no doubt that the views and adventures awaiting you on this island are tempting, but at what cost? Number 2, Snake Island in Brazil. This is far from the only island that makes our legs shake though. Another island can be found in Brazil and has been aptly named Snake Island due to its long and winding nature. At least that's what the locals call it. Its formal name is Ilha de Queimada Grande and comprises of 43 hectares worth of Brazilian coastline about 20 miles from the shore of Sao Paulo. It's not just the look of the island that has resulted in its serpentine name though. According to reports, it's actually home to one of the deadliest species of snakes in the world, the golden lancehead viper. Experts have estimated that there are about 4,000 of these deadly guys spread across the island, with local lore even suggesting that visitors will find a snake of at least some kind every 5 square meters walked. The reality of the situation is hard to gauge though, since the Brazilian government has prohibited any tourists from actually visiting the island. The only exception to the rule is the study of the island's snake inhabitants by researchers every year, but this hasn't stopped some people from making a beeline for the island. So you don't just risk an island full of snakes by visiting Ilha de Queimada Grande, you risk an arrest by the Brazilian police force as well. Not exactly our idea of a relaxing trip. Number 3, the North Sentinel Island in the Andaman Collection. The next location on our list is something straight out of a movie, and since we doubt even Indiana Jones would be able to make its way out alive, tourists should most definitely stay away. We are of course referring to the North Sentinel Island that can be found in the Bay of Bengal. Not only is this landmass heavily forested and surrounded by jagged coral reef that makes it highly inaccessible, it's also inhabited by a small indigenous population that is known as the Sentinelese. And if there's anything you need to know about these guys, it's that they don't like company. Throughout the years, they have rejected contact with the outside world, and since it's next to impossible to study and learn their language, a general lack of communication has led to some intense situations. In 2008, for example, 2 fishermen had the unfortunate luck of being taken to the island by a rogue current. Before even reaching the shoreline of the North Sentinel Island, the tribe killed them by littering their boat with arrows. This wasn't the first instance of aggression shown by the tribe though. Before then, a rescue helicopter flew overhead to inspect the damage caused to the island by the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake. But the pilot had to turn away after he was attacked with stones and arrows. Suffice to say, you wouldn't want to end up on North Sentinel Island anytime soon. As it turns out, Google Translate won't help you talk your way out of things. Number 4, the Lascaux Caves in France. Not all forbidden destinations are islands though. In fact, some of them have been open to the public for years until a variation in the environment caused everything to change. This is what happened to the Lascaux Caves in northwestern France, which is still considered by the world governments to be a UNESCO World Heritage Site due to the Paleolithic paintings that can be found within the complex series of interconnected caves. According to reports, this ancient artwork is actually said to be about 17,000 years old and appears to indicate images of great beasts that have been proven through fossil excavations over time in the area. In other words, these are the paintings that have guided archaeologists and paleontologists to come to terms with the beasts that walked the French landscape all those years ago, making for a more interesting viewing. Unfortunately for adventurers among you though, this site was closed off to the public back in 2000. 2008 when a fungal outbreak made the connection of caves pretty inaccessible. The only people who are now able to investigate the Lascaux caves are scientists who are allowed to study the paintings just a few days every month to avoid fungal infection. Number 5. Paveglia in Italy. Next up on our list is a small island of Paveglia, which can be found within the Venetian lagoon between the destinations of Venice and Lido. And although the island has some of the most incredible views of the North Italian ocean side, it has a pretty checkered past that has kept visitors at bay. You see, it used to be the home of a fort that was used as a shipping checkpoint. Later, it became the site of a quarantine station for the bubonic plague, and when the Black Death had finally dissipated, an asylum was built there to look after the criminally insane. The psychiatric hospital, however, was shut down in 1968, causing the island to become abandoned by all who had previously chosen to live on it. Not all surprising, considering how Paveglia is said to be one of the most haunted islands in all of existence. No doubt the result of the hardships that have been experienced by the inhabitants of the island over the decade, but the situation has become so dire, the Italian government actually put the island up for a long-term lease of 99 years back in 2014 in the hope that some billionaire would come along and redevelop it. The only people who have found themselves spending any time in Paveglia in the last 2 years have been avid ghost hunters, so if that's your thing, this is probably the perfect place for you to camp. That being said, there's a reason why it's now abandoned and previously housed the sick and criminally insane, so we'd caution you against a visit. Number 6. The Vatican Secret Archives in Vatican City. And then we have the Vatican Secret Archives, which can be found deep within the walls of the mysterious Vatican City in Italy. According to reports, these archives contain everything from historical documents to papal account books, most of which revolve around the history of the Catholic faith and church. And since some of these documents date back to the 8th century, it's really no wonder why so many historians want to discover everything that the Vatican Secret Archives have to offer. That being said, these documents are considered to be the property of the current pope, and as such are kept firmly from the sight of prying eyes. This really makes you wonder what the church is hiding from the rest of us, building up a mystery that has long been in the making. Experts estimate the archives to be around 52 miles of shelving, comprising around 35,000 secretive items. Infiltrating the Vatican Secret Archives will find you being arrested by the Vatican Guard though, so it's not a great idea to go wandering where you don't belong. Apparently, only a select few from higher education and research institutions are given access every once in a while. But with a rigorous application process barring all others, there's no way you'll be making there legally anytime soon. Number 7. The Icy Grand Shrine in Japan. Another destination that you're barred from discovering for yourself is the Icy Grand Shrine, which is located in the Japanese town of Ujitachi. For those who've never heard of it, the Icy Grand is a Shinto shrine which has been dedicated to the goddess Amaterasu Omikami and comprises 2 main shrines and 125 accompanying secondary shrines. Since the Icy Grand is said to date back to the 3rd century, it makes sense that only a high priestess or priest who is a member of the Japanese imperial family is able to enter it. The rest of us will have to be happy with a quick glance at its high walls and thatched roofs. As you can imagine, quite a bit of mystery surrounds the inaccessible region, with many believing that the shrine houses an artifact called the Yata no Kagami, otherwise known as the Sacred Mirror. And since this artifact is part of the imperial regalia of the century, it goes without saying that everyone who is anyone would do anything to get a simple look at it. Doing so is sure to land you in a world of trouble though, so it's best to think twice before launching what will be construed as an attack against the imperial family. What do you think about these distant destinations though? Be sure to let us know in the comments section down below.